Hey, what's up guys? This is Anthony from AnthonysCustoms, and for this review, we are looking at the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Donatello 1/6 scale collectible figure from Mondo, which means it's based on the comic book design. So let's go ahead and get it off the stand and take a closer look. So this guy stands just about 26 centimeters, which makes him pretty close to I'd say just shy of 10 inches, which is pretty much in scale. They're not supposed to be quite as tall as a human, so no big deal there. A lot of people were complaining that they're not 12 inches tall, but they're not supposed to be, so I think that's okay. Now, you might notice right off the bat, this guy is definitely a different color than Leonardo. I don't have my Leonardo here. He has, since I reviewed him, been shipped to Texas, so I can't compare them. But I'll link you guys to the video. It'll be right up there in that corner, and you guys can check out that video. Now, if you remember correctly, that Leonardo had some quality control issues, a lot of loose joints or stuck joints, and so this guy was delayed a little bit. I think it was to, I don't know if they officially ever said it, but they might have, to correct some of those QC issues. And for the most part, they did. We'll go over that when we talk about the articulation, but this guy is mostly devoid of QC issues. Let's talk about the accessories. We do have interchangeable heads. We have the one head with the purple bandana, and the bandana, I think, is supposed to be able to be rotated, but mine is totally stuck. I can't get it to do anything, but either way, it's going to be pretty much sticking straight out the back, so it's not necessarily the best design. I would definitely have liked a little bit of ball joint action, but it's okay. And so we have the purple one, and then we also have the red one. So if you don't want to buy Raphael, just buy an extra Donatello. No, I'm only kidding. It is for the comic book. The comic book, they were all red, so that's why you have that. As far as I can tell, they are the exact same sculpt. So if you want a red one, you get a red one. If you want a purple one, you can use the purple. We do have some interchangeable hands. We have the two gripping hands that come on him in the package. We get one thumbs up hand, and then we get one hand with the little ninja claws for climbing or for fighting. You do get one baby turtle. Doesn't have any articulation, but it is painted nicely. You get one Krang, which is painted very nicely. Again, no articulation, but it looks pretty good. You have one blaster, you have one gadget which can go over the arm, and then he can hold it, so that's pretty cool. It's real soft plastic. You, of course, get his bow staff, which is done nicely. It's all one piece, painted well enough. You get a grappling hook with real rope, and then you get 4 throwing stars, 2 black 4-pointed stars, and then 2 silver 8-pointed stars. So a pretty cool batch of accessories. Now, mentioning the accessories, this is the exclusive version, the Mondo exclusive, so you will not get all of those unless you get the Mondo exclusive. I'm not sure which ones are the differentiating pieces at this point. I don't know. It doesn't really matter because I'm just reviewing the exclusive one. You cannot get that anymore. It is long sold out, so you have to get the regular version, but again, it only comes down to the accessories. So, cool things to note about this guy. The belt is a soft material. It can move around. I don't know how helpful that's going to be. We'll get to that. And then the bow does fit in back here. Let's see how well it fits. Though I doubt many people are going to actually pose him without him holding the bow. You can... Oh, it fits nicely. That's good. It's a little bit snug, so be careful. If you just push on it, you might rip it off. So be careful. But it's definitely a softer plastic, so... Now I can't get it out. You shouldn't have any trouble. There you go. Give it a little twist as you're putting it in or out, and it should be just fine. That's what she said. So let's talk about the paint. Is the paint any good? I think so. I really like the way they have the black outline for the eyes, and the white part's nice and clean. The purple's nice and saturated. There's a little bit of black going around the bandana, or at least it looks like it. It could just be because it's a separate piece and it's creating some heavy shadows, but it looks really nice. We do have the black kind of comic book styling going on for the chest. Looks very nice. The orangish yellow is really saturated, and it looks good. Now, mine has a little bit of this white stuff going on, and I didn't notice it until I got it out for the review. The piece isn't flexible enough that it would have separated to kind of reveal the paint in there, so I don't know. I'm going to have to try to get in there with a knife and see what I can do about that. A little bit of white. Don't know what's up with that. The belt is painted nice enough. The arms do have some shading throughout, so that looks pretty good. Gives it just enough of that kind of comic inked look, and I'm okay with that. Looks nice. The elbow pads and wrist straps and all that kind of stuff, they all have a nice paint job. A little bit of shading throughout, so that is good. And that's pretty much it. The shell, I guess we could mention the shell. It's kind of important. The shell does have also the same kind of black shading on top of that darker bluish green, and it looks very nice. So as far as articulation goes, we do have one issue. And it's not the biggest issue because it's the head, but it is something to note. It is a giant ball peg, so you can pose the head around just fine. You can lean it, but that's what happens. It doesn't seat very far into the head, which isn't terrible because it's going to stay on its own. And like I said, you can pose it, but you definitely want it to seat farther into the head in order for it to not fall off. That's definitely not ideal. So be aware of that as you're posing it or swapping out the heads. Well, you can even see it. It's not more than like a hemisphere, so it can't snap around that ball peg. So it's just going to be a little bit of a pressure fit, and that's it. So be aware of that. Shoulders are your standard ball hinges, so let's see how they work. Leonardo had some issues with these. Oh wow, they go straight up, no problem. And that's very nice. The hinge works very well. It's got a little bit of a ratchet to it, not too much. Full smooth swivel. It's a little floppy here. Not too bad. It's okay though. It's not like, I don't think it's going to be a problem. We get our bicep swivel in the bicep, which works just fine. It is worth noting, the shoulder goes straight through the bicep and into the elbow. So technically, when you rotate this, you will have that effect. The arm will stay in place because it's actually connected up here. It doesn't really matter, but it's worth noting. You do get your swivel down there, though, because of it, and you get your elbow hinge, which does have the same issue as before. They didn't change the sculpt, which I'm both thankful for and a little bit bummed out because there are some issues. If you do hinge the elbow, it ends up looking kind of weird. It could definitely have been handled better, and it only looks weird because of the way they did the strap. The way it just kind of turns into nothingness. Could definitely be better, but when you bend it, it looks okay, so again, it's okay. We'll talk about that kind of issue more when we get to the knees. The wrists are all interchangeable, obviously, so we have our peg to rotate them around on. Then we have a hinge, which works nicely. So far, pretty good. A couple of slight looseness issues, but otherwise it is okay. Now, do we have any articulation in the torso? Let's see. I'm not sure. I don't remember if we're supposed to be completely honest, so we're going to find out together right now. There is a split right there. You guys can see that right under there. I can't get it to really do anything, so I'm kind of leaning towards no articulation, or it's just really stuck. So we're going to leave it at no articulation for the torso. Can't remember if Leo had any or not, to be completely honest. So again, you can check the review that was linked at the top corner if you want to. The hips are ball hinge hips, but they're almost completely vertical. So you have to rotate them around in order to get the legs out to the side. So that is not ideal. So they are a little bit better to move this time. They move around okay, but it is definitely going to be a pain in the ass. You have to mix that thigh swivel with the rotation of the ball hinge in order to get it where you want. And since you can't really get in there to grab the ball hinge, it's just really finicky and tricky to move around. So it's going to be very difficult to pose him, but it can be done, so I guess that's okay. The tail is on a little ball peg, so you can move that around if you want to. I would suggest you don't do that too much or people will think you're weird. For the knees, you have the same type of joint as before. This is kind of like what I was mentioning with the elbows. It's very thick in the knee and it needs to really get narrower here. And so that's not ideal. And the reason that's not ideal is because it looks bad like this. You don't want it bulging out before the knee. And then when you bend the knee, it ends up, if you bend both of the knees, can't really get the leg out to do it. If you bend both of the two halves, you end up with an incredibly fat knee where you have a knee up here, a knee here, and a knee down here. These need to be way thinner. They function better this time around, but they're still way too fat. And I was kind of hoping they'd fix that, but then it wouldn't match Leonardo, so I guess it's okay that they didn't. Very fat knees. And these are kind of like free moving pieces. The knees move independently of that, but doesn't really make that much of a difference. Then lastly, we have our ankle hinge, which allows the foot to go really far back, no problem at all, and then almost not so far forward at all. So it is pretty much the exact same situation as before, and you do get an ankle rocker very much like the Marvel Legends. So ultimately, it's a solid figure with a few issues here and there. Nothing too bad. It's definitely a figure you're going to get more for the aesthetic rather than the dynamic posability. Turtles are very hard to be very posable in the first place, and so that is going to be an issue. Now the question does come down to the price. This guy costs about $150 MSRP, and he's only a 10-inch tall turtle that's not that posable. So I'm personally okay with it. I don't think it's overpriced, but it is definitely at the top of what I would say is okay for this guy, especially given some of those issues that I mentioned. So be aware of those things if you are going to pick these guys up. I don't know. It's up to you. I don't want to make a direct comparison to the NECA figures because NECA seems to just do magic in terms of churning out stuff that priced way lower than the competitors for what you get. It's incredible. 18-inch turtle for $100 compared to a 10-inch turtle for $150. I don't know. He does come with a lot of stuff, but you're going to have to decide for yourself what it's worth in terms of the price. But I think it's not a bad deal. It's just something to consider. You are spending a lot of money, and it is not the most advanced Ninja Turtle figure we have, but it is unique, and I like it, and I think you will too, and I think most people will. So I'm going to recommend it with the cautionary warning of the price point. So there you go, guys. Thanks for watching. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. I have new videos up every single day. We talk about action figures, movies, TV shows, video games, all kinds of fun stuff. So make sure you come back for that. Give the video a thumbs up if you liked it. And in the meantime, keep collecting.